Hello. I didn't really want to make this video. I'm a little bit hesitant. It's a bit out of my comfort zone. But I had a computer come in to be repaired from a customer, and they said they were sort of playing a game and it shut down, and then it restarted, and then Windows wouldn't load. And that's why they brought it in. So I naturally asked them whether this had happened before, and they said yes, ever since they bought it, and that was just over a year ago. And that really set my alarm bells ringing. So when I took the side panel off, I saw this, which is a bit of a shocking thing. This is a pretty terrible cooler. The invoice describes it as being a standard CPU cooler, and the thermal paste is standard thermal paste for sufficient cooling, which is clearly not true. I ran Prime 95, and within less than a second the temperatures rose, as you can see, to 100 degrees, at which point I stopped doing it because it was so it was shutting down because it was overheating, because the cooler is just utterly inappropriate. But wait, exactly how inappropriate? Well, have a look at this. I take the cooler off and this is what I see. Oh, doesn't cover the whole of the processor, does it? It's just that circle in the middle of it, and you can see where the fins are sort of making their little mark on the outer edges. So that's how wide the actual processor is, and again you can see that the paste doesn't make very good contact. And here's the actual processor cooler itself. So there's no copper in it, it's just a big lump of aluminium, and it's only like 2.5 centimeters in diameter. So it doesn't cover the processor. So that's how bad it is. So it's a PCSpecialist machine. So you'd have thought that they'd be specialists, wouldn't you? But apparently not. And there are other things wrong with it as well. So as I say, I started to make a list. And rather than bore you with detailing each individual thing, we'll just cut straight to the list and talk ourselves through it. So first thing, obviously, a CPU cooler is utterly hopeless. It's just ridiculous. Second thing is that there's the 12-volt CPU power cable, and I'll just show you the footage of it, and you can see that it running across the motherboard, going underneath the graphics card and then down the bottom and then poking through. I know why that happened, because there is sufficient cable length for it to go the normal route, which is round the back. So you run it round the back and then you poke it through like a hole there, and then it goes in. So there is sufficient room to do that. The cable is sufficiently long to do that, but they didn't do it because they obviously fitted the motherboard first and then put the power supply in, and then realised that it wouldn't poke up through the top, and then they just bodged it by running it through there. And I think part of that was the next thing on the list. So yeah, so the 12-volt cable is just draped across the motherboard. Second thing on the list is the fan, which I have taken out, but here it is. You can see that when it goes in, it covers up the rather nice ROG Strix LEDs. So when they put the motherboard in, they had to sort of squeeze it in, and then they were reluctant to take it out to route the cable, which is why. But if you take it off, it just looks so much better. And this fan doesn't actually do anything, because there's a big hole at the top anyway. I mean, it's just sloppy, isn't it? There's a difference between building something and assembling it, and this PC was barely, it was assembled, but that's about it. Also, while we're at it, the routing of this cable here, which is obviously the power supply for the graphics card, why can't it go up through the bottom? And so that's not officially on my list. It's just something I've noticed that's annoying. So really, next thing is, because they got a mechanical drive, we thought about putting M.2 in. So we got one, and then I went to fit it, and it's currently in there at the moment. And the little screw things, little riser things for it, weren't there. Now, they would have come with a motherboard because they come in little bags in the accessories, but they weren't included. So how the hell are you supposed to put an M.2 in if they don't include the little mounting screw thing for it? That's just ridiculous. And a lot of manufacturers do this, and it really, really, really beeps me off, because they just leave out all the little accessories that you actually need if you want to, you know, do stuff to it. So yeah, we did that, and that's there was an issue with the power when it powered down, because that light there would stay on, and it's a BIOS tweak to turn that off. Or you can do it using, this is an Asus motherboard, so you can do it using Armoury Crate, which is the official Asus way of doing it. But if you don't want to use Armoury Crate, then you can just disable it in the BIOS, looking at the power states, and, you know, tweak it. They hadn't done that, so when it shut down, that shroud light just stayed on. And it's a little thing, but if you're calling yourself a specialist, and if you look at the actual thing says professional cable management, so they're using words like professional when it comes to the assembly of this thing, and that to me is what a professional would do. Yeah. So, but here's another thing. This is the final thing that really beat me off. I'm trying very, very hard not to swear. But it is increasingly becoming more difficult as this video progresses. Is that the power supply is a Corsair TX 650M. The M stands for modular, but it's semi-modular. And on the invoice, it's actually stated as being semi-modular. So they've sold it as a semi-modular thing, like that's a, you know, that's a feature that you pay for. And it is a nice power supply. And it's not, you know, fair play to PCSpecialist. It is a nice power supply. Retail prices, I think, about £90 or something. Except, where are the bloody cables for it? Oh, I swore. Sorry. Where are the cables for it? You get the ones they're using, which is the, you know, there's one PCI Express and there's one SATA, and obviously there's the ATX and there's the 12-volt CPU power. But where are the rest of the cables? There should be a floppy adapter, there should be a Molex one, which they call peripheral one now, and there should be another PCI Express one, and there should be another SATA one. So where are they? Because if you want to add, it's don't sell it as being modular unless you're going to include all the cables that come with it, because then it's not modular, is it? It's just incomplete. Oh. So yeah, so I don't, as you can see, I'm getting increasingly more agitated about this because it really does annoy me. And the poor customer is he's just a teenage gamer, and he just wanted to play his games, and the thing just kept shutting down, and he didn't think anything of it, because when he went back 10 minutes later, it started up again. Except when he did it, you know, about a week ago, it didn't start up again. So yeah, any questions or comments, stick them in the comments. If you swear in any of the comments, I will automatically, all comments are vetted, and if there's any swearing in any of the comments, I delete the comments regardless of what you've said. I find it very difficult not to swear, but you know, you don't have to type it. So yeah. To be fair, I don't get many comments that are sweary. I'm just thinking that because I've done a bit of swearing in this, and yeah, and some people might be fiercely, you know, it might trigger a few people that like PCSpecialist. And I'm not saying they're a bad company, they're a big company. You can't criticise big companies for being successful, but you can point out, you know, terrible things that they've done and mistakes that they've made, and this is one of them. Yeah, so any questions, stick them in the comments, and any comments, stick them in the comments, and liking and subscribing is always appreciated. And as ever, thanks for watching. So, a very quick addendum. This is probably what they should have built in the first place. So that's a much more appropriate cooler, as we'll see. Got the M.2 in there as well. No, I've managed to, you know, put a little mounting screw in for the stupid thing. Well, that's it booted anyway. So let's just fire it up. Right, so we've got that now. So idling at 30 degrees at the moment. So I'm going to fire up Pram 95 and see what that does. And that's Pram 95 going. And the temperatures have risen to, highest number there is 63. And you hear the noise levels? Barely audible. So that's what they should have put in. So yeah, and I've also moved the cables around as well, because obviously having that cable draped across there was going to get in the way of the cooler, so I moved it down there, and I've actually managed to get the CPU voltage cable to fit perfectly. And of course I've removed that fan so you can see the nice Strix logo. So that's what PC Specialist should have done. So yeah, brilliant. I'll close now. Any comments, stick them in the comments. Liking and subscribing, remember, is appreciated, and thanks for watching.